What if I told you New Jersey, the land of diners, shore towns, and jug handles, is also hiding entire abandoned villages where time just stopped? Places where iron furnaces never cooled, where old printing presses still sit in the woods, and where one town became internet famous for allegedly opening a portal to another dimension. Yeah, New Jersey. That New Jersey. Today, we're diving into 8 real ghost towns with empty houses, vanished industries, government mistakes, and stories so strange they feel scripted, except they're all true. If you thought Jersey was all turnpikes and tomatoes, this video is about to blow that idea into the Pine Barrens. 8. Whitesbog Village, the blueberry ghost town. If you've ever eaten a blueberry in your life, and if you haven't, girl, are you okay? You can thank this abandoned New Jersey village. Whitesbog began as a booming early 1900s cranberry and blueberry farming operation, founded by Elizabeth White, the queen who literally invented the modern blueberry. Workers' cottages, packing houses, barns. The place once buzzed with hundreds of people harvesting berries under the hot Pine Barrens sun. But when commercial farming shifted to more efficient regions, the entire worker village emptied almost overnight. What's left today? Rows of wooden houses with no lights, no families, no sound except the wind blowing through scrub pines. Machines that once fed entire towns now sit frozen in time. Visitors swear they feel watched. Not in a paranormal way, more like the blueberries judging you for buying store-brand Pop-Tarts. But if Whitesbog feels empty, wait until we hit a place where people didn't leave because of farming. They left because the government basically said, yeah, sorry, everyone has to move out now. 7. Walpack Center, the town erased by a dam that never happened. Walpack Center might be the most New Jersey bureaucracy ghost town ever created. In the 1960s, the federal government announced plans to build the massive Tox Island Dam. Towns across Walpack Township were bought out, emptied, and left to rot, all for a gigantic project that was supposed to reshape the entire Delaware River Valley. Families left. Businesses locked their doors. Churches went silent. Houses sat empty, waiting for the floodwaters that never came. And then, plot twist, the dam was canceled. Environmental concerns, political battles, engineering issues, whatever the reason, the project simply died. But by then, the town had already been evacuated like a movie set after the apocalypse. Today, only a handful of residents live in the entire township. Walpack Center sits quiet, a church, a post office, an empty general store, all preserved but unused. Like the world ended, but someone forgot to tell New Jersey. But at least Walpack had people living there in the 1900s. Our next town? It's so old, it helped fight an entire revolution and then vanished. 6. Batsto Village, the Revolutionary War boomtown that froze in time. Batsto Village is the kind of place that makes you feel like you accidentally stepped into 1778. Back in the Revolutionary War, Batsto was that girl, a booming iron and glass manufacturing town producing supplies for the Continental Army. Cannons, household goods, tools, you name it. The village thrived off the furnace, the general store, the sawmill, the workers' homes, and this gorgeous mansion belonging to the Iron Master. Because of course the boss had the nicest real estate. But iron technology changed, trade routes shifted, railroads bypassed the area, boom turned into bust, and Batsto just faded, slowly, quietly. By the 20th century, the village was nearly empty, like the spirit of the town stepped out for lunch and never came back. Today it's perfectly restored. Dozens of buildings preserved exactly as they were. You walk through and it's eerie. Everything looks ready for people, but nobody lives there. It's the prettiest ghost town in the country. It's giving Colonial Williamsburg, but everyone forgot to show up. But Batsto isn't even the strangest Pine Barrens ghost town, because there's one place out there where people swear scientists opened another dimension. 5. Ong's Hat, the ghost town that became an internet cult legend. Ong's Hat might be the weirdest entry on this entire list, and that's saying a lot. The real settlement was never more than a tiny Pine Barrens stopover, a hut, a family name, a dirt intersection. By the 1900s, researchers said only one resident remained. Today, nothing stands except trees, sand roads, and the occasional confused hiker. But here's where things get spicy. Ong's Hat became legendary online in the 1980s and 1990s as the setting of a massive conspiracy theory. According to the story, A group of rogue Princeton physicists built a machine, yes, a literal machine, capable of opening a portal to another dimension. People claimed there were maps, journals, hidden files, secret societies, all tied to this tiny Pine Barrens clearing with 0 standing buildings. In reality, it was one of the earliest alternate reality games ever created on the internet. A hoax, but a creative one. But the legend stuck. Even today, ghost hunters and conspiracy lovers show up expecting rips in the fabric of reality. And instead they find trees. Just trees. And speaking of legends, our next town has structures still standing, and visitors swear some of them don't just look haunted, they act haunted. 4. The deserted village of Feltville, New Jersey's accidental horror movie set. Feltville was built in the 1840s by businessman David Felt, who basically said, "Let me create my own tiny kingdom so nobody bothers me." He built homes, a general store, a church, a printing operation. At its peak, 175 people lived here, and then he retired, just walked away, and the town fell apart like a Jenga tower with butter pieces. After that, the place had multiple failed eras. A summer resort nobody liked, a retreat center that didn't last, a half-occupied, half-abandoned historic district. Today, the town sits inside Watchung Reservation. Houses remain, some occupied, some rotting. A creepy church hides between trees. Trails lead to random abandoned structures that feel like you're walking through a horror movie where the ghosts haven't clocked in yet. Locals swear they hear voices, footsteps, doors closing, and honestly, with the way the wind whips through those old houses, I believe it. Feltville is one of those rare ghost towns where you're not completely alone. A few people still live there. Imagine checking your mail while tourists ask if you're a Victorian ghost. But if you want a ghost town that mixes history with eerie stillness, a place where the buildings look alive, but the village is dead, the next spot delivers that vibe perfectly. 3. Waterloo Village, the canal town that refused to move on. Imagine running a whole town around a canal, and then the canal era dies. That's Waterloo. This village began with the Lenape people, then exploded during the 1800s when the Morris Canal became the superhighway of coal transportation. Boats, mills, lock tenders, taverns, everything revolved around the canal. Then trains and trucks said, yeah, we're better. And canal towns everywhere collapsed like a bad stock. Waterloo slowly decayed into a semi-abandoned cluster of buildings surrounded by forest. Ruins, empty houses, sagging porches, it was all there. Preservation groups eventually stepped in and restored dozens of structures. A working grist mill, lock systems, blacksmith shops, workers' homes. But here's the twist. Between tours and events, the town feels dead. Too perfect. Too quiet, like you're walking through a restored movie set where the actors never showed up. No kids biking around, no laundry on porches, no lights in windows. Just silence wrapped around 1800s buildings that look ready to wake up. But we're not done, because our next town has more than quiet buildings. It has 40 of them, preserved so well it feels like the last residents walked off set and forgot to yell, "Cut." 2. Allaire Village, the industrial town, frozen mid-sentence. Allaire Village is like someone froze an entire 19th century industrial town, shrink-wrapped it, and put it in a state park. Back in the early 1800s, this place revolved around the Howell Iron Works. Furnaces, forges, worker housing, a general store, a church. It was a full company town where iron workers lived steps away from the heat of the furnaces that powered the American economy. But when iron production collapsed later in the century, the town emptied out. People moved away. Buildings stood silent. Nature crept in. Today, more than 40 buildings survive, some restored, some unused, all incredibly intact. Walking through Allaire feels like the town paused itself, mid-breath. You peek through a window and see a table set for dinner, except nobody has touched it in a century. When the seasonal historical interpreters are gone, Allaire becomes an industrial ghost town with perfect makeup. Beautiful, eerily clean, and unsettlingly still. It's the most Instagrammable ghost town in New Jersey, and somehow the creepiest. And yet, there's one ghost town left that isn't preserved, isn't staged, and isn't cleaned up, because the most fascinating one of all barely existed in the first place. 1. Ong's Hat. Wait, didn't we already do Ong's Hat? Hold up. Before you say, Sis, that was number 5. Just listen. There's a reason Ong's Hat deserves the number 1 spot too. It's not just a ghost town, it's the idea of a ghost town, the legend of a ghost town, the most famous non-town in New Jersey history. Most ghost towns died because people left. Ong's Hat became famous because people wouldn't stop talking about it. This tiny spot, barely more than dirt trails, became one of the internet's earliest viral myths. It turned a literal clearing in the woods into a cult phenomenon. People still visit, they still search for ruins, they still expect something there. A building, a lab, a leftover portal machine, something. And every time, they walk away confused. Because Ong's Hat is a ghost town where the ghosts aren't people, they're stories. And that, honestly, makes it the most powerful one of all. But hey, if you liked this breakdown, you should see the other abandoned towns hiding in the US. Seriously, some of them make Ong's Hat look like Vegas. New Jersey hides stories that never made it into the postcards. Villages built for war, towns erased by paperwork, and tiny settlements that somehow spawned entire internet myths. Ghost towns aren't always spooky. Sometimes they're just pieces of history sitting quietly, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. I'll keep finding the world's hidden corners. You just have to click subscribe to come along.